Mr. Chairman, are you aware Brittany's going to be late?
Yes, she contacted me this morning.
All right.
Do we have a quorum without her?
Yes, we have Teresa, Bev, you, I believe Philip's out there somewhere, and Kathy's there.
Kathy, yep.
Okay, so we only need 4.
Okay, thanks, Troy. All right, David, I take it you're out there somewhere?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, good. I'm going to call to order the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of April 6, 2001. For record of attendance, I'd like to have a motion, please, to excuse Brittany with cause.
So moved.
Second.
Seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you. My remarks for this evening is we have a very long agenda tonight. And anybody that's going to address and show their concerns, we have a lot of letters that were written on the applications for variances. So what we'll do is you'll see a chat icon on the bottom of your screen. Just click on that and we'll try to fit everybody in and let them express their concerns. Each person addressing the committee shall be requested by the chair to state his or her name and civic address. And all the remarks should be addressed through the chair, and no question shall be asked of a committee member except at direct discretion of the chair. And with that, we'll move on to item 4, which is PAC minutes, amended minutes of March 1st, 2021 in correspondence. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion to adopt as presented.
Seconder?
I'll second.
Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Thank you. Regular council meeting minutes of February 22nd, 2021. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Seconder?
I'll second.
Questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Contrary? Item 6 is declaration of conflict of interest. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with tonight's agenda? All right. We move on to item 7, which is an application for a tentative subdivision, Panoramic Estates Phase 17, and 7.1 is the Development Officer's Report of April 1st, 21. So it is from, name of the applicant is McGuire Excavating Limited. And their application is to recommendation to council on street sign, recommendation to council on land for public purposes, and approval of street naming. Is there anybody here to speak in favor of the application from McGuire Excavating?
And, you know, she was wearing a long segment stent, so it's not a stent. The problem with those is that they can clog off at any moment, and it can leave a
Is there anybody to speak against the application of McGuire Excavating and Panoramic Estates?
The next order of business is
If not, could I get a motion, please?
damage the voice box, and I think she's going to have a much better long-term.
Make a motion to move that the Planning Advisory Committee recommend to council grant a tentative approval to subdivision plan Panoramic Estates Phase 7D based on tentative subdivision plan prepared by Kirstead, Quigley and Roberts Limited, dated January 7th, 2021, with civic addresses to be recorded on the final plan for MB 911 identification to be approved by council with a completed developer subdivision agreement. 2, move that the Planning Advisory Committee recommend to council to accept $89.45 as money in lieu of land for public purposes, cash, debit, money order, or certified check for the creation of 4 new lots as shown on tentative subdivision plan, Panoramic Estate Subdivision Phase 7C, as prepared by Kirsten Quigley and Roberts Limited, dated November 10th, 2021. Move that the Planning Advisory Committee approve the name of the proposed street names as June Avenue and Maple Crest Drive.
Could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second.
Questions on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary? Okay, motion passed. Item number 8 is application for tentative subdivision plan 264 Nerfus Road. 8.1 Development Officers Report of March 11th, 2021. And the applicant is the Saulniers Surveys, Inc. And the owner of the property is J. Campbell, D. Dorian, G. Keys, and J. Oliver at 264 Nerfus Road. Tentative subdivision plan for the creation of 1 new building lot. And the variance, the type of application is recommended from the council on land for public purposes and private railway crossing agreement. Item 2 is a variance road frontage 8.2.5.3 bracket 3. Required is 55 meters, proposed 0 meters by private railway crossing agreement with NB Southern. Is there anybody to speak in favor of this application?
Mr. Chair, it's Kathy Fawcett. For clarification, the agenda and your opening remarks speak to a development officer's report of March 11th, but the report in my package is April 1st.
April 1st? Yes, I have April 1st.
Is there another report of March 11th that should be in our package?
No, the agenda should reflect April the 1st.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks, Kathy. So, is there anybody to speak in favor of this application?
Mr. Chair, I'm here. I'm one of the owners of the property.
Okay. You can and address yourself, and we'll just let you speak, sir.
My name's Dan Dwyer, we're one of the owners, and we're fully supportive of the conditions that have been put forward. I just wanted to make that remark, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
But do you want to tell us a little bit more about what you're actually doing?
We're simply subdividing a property across the tracks into 2 lots. And so we jointly bought the property and we're dividing it into 2 lots so that each family can then build a home eventually on their lots. And so that's what we're trying to do. So we're looking for access to 2 properties across 1 rail crossing.
Okay. So so my understanding from what you said, you're planning to build a house there?
Yes, ma'am. That's my plan. I lived in Grand Bay, Westfield for many years and moved away, and now we're looking forward to building a retirement home on one of those.
Oh, excellent. Very good. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So I guess, is there anybody else that would like to speak in favor of the application? If not, can I have a motion, please?
Is there anybody not in favor of the motion? Everything's quiet.
I know. Look out.
Yes.
Quiet before the storm. That being said,
Motion off. I move that the Planning Advisory Committee grant approval of 55-meter variances to reduce the lot frontage of both lots 20-1 and 20-2 from 55 meters to 0 meters with a registered private rail crossing agreement with MB Southern Rail and a private right-of-way granted in favor of lot 20-1 over lot 20-2 as shown on the Campbell, Dorian, Keys, Oliver draft tentative subdivision plan received on January 13th, 2021, subject to approval by council accepting the completion of a registered private rail crossing agreement between the landowners and NB Southern Railway to provide a permanent shared access to the private properties, and with recommendation for approval of the subdivision plan, subject to approval of the following general conditions. Number 1, recording civic number 264 for lot 20-2 and number 270 for lot 20-1 to be shown on the final subdivision plan for MB 911 identification. Council accept $173.48 as money in lieu of land for public purposes, cash, debit, money order, or certified check for the creation of one new building lot and development of the lots subject to the town's regulated building elevation of 7.4 meters and the provincial approvals for septic fields related to the flood zone.
can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Questions on the motion? Nay? Okay. Dan, your motion has been, variance has been approved, and you can contact David in the near future, and he will advise you how you can move forward with your plan.
All right, Mr. Chair, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. We'll move on to item 9, which is an application for tentative subdivision plan 11 Emma Avenue, Kevin and Trevor Hickey. And 9.1 is development offers report of March 23rd, 2021.
Again, that should reflect April the 1st.
What's that, David?
That should read April the 1st.
April the 1st?
Yeah.
Okay. So it is the type of the application is a variance of lot frontage. 8.2.2.3 bracket B, bracket double I, item 2 required is 23 meter frontage, proposed is A, 15 meters, and B is 15 meters. Is there anybody there to speak in favor of this application?
Hi, Mr. Chair. It's Trevor Hickey. I'm here to answer any questions that might come up.
All right. Is there anybody else out there that would like to speak in favor of the application? We need to ask 3 times by proper rules. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in favor of the application? If not, is there anybody that would like to speak against the application? Is there anybody that would like to speak against the application? And again, is there anybody that would like to speak against the application? If not, could I get a motion, please?
Jim, I have a question. Trevor, I was just curious. So the future lot 3, how will that be accessed? Is that going to be accessed off of Ridgeway?
Yes, there is a lot off Ridgeway that was left available for future subdivision some time ago, I guess.
Right beside lot 7?
I'm not sure exactly. It's
Okay.
right off of Ridgeway. It's the only vacant lot off of Ridgeway.
Okay.
The Butler Lane.
Were any
Yeah, I
more
believe,
questions?
I believe it shows on the plan as Town of Grand Bay Future Street.
Yeah, I saw that and I thought, okay, future street, but now it's just a driveway entrance. Okay. Thank you.
Well, it is to clarify, it is the future street access to what would be the new lot 3.
Right.
It would require the street developed.
Any more questions? If not, could I have a motion, please?
I'll move that the Planning Advisory Committee grant the following variances to the Town of Grand Bay Westfield zoning bylaw number 122 for the development of PID 3014-8621/302-88856 into 2 lots with reduced frontages. I, for 7 meters to reduce lot frontage for lot 21-1 from 23 meters to 15 meters. Second condition being 7 meters to reduce lot frontage for lot 21-2 from 23 meters to 15 meters, subject to new driveway access with a deposit of $1,000 cash, money order, certified check or debit, or either a concrete cut depressed curb or new depressed curb by poured concrete, and approved location by the Works Commissioner. All work done and paid for by resident contractor. Further, subject to the completion of the sale of both properties to the applicant, providing 7.5 meter front yard building setback from the rear property lines of civic numbers 9 and 15, and leaving a remnant lot out of PID 3014-8621 for future development access by the future street off Ridgeway.
Thanks, Teresa. Could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second it, Mr. Chair, but I think there's a friendly amendment to the motion just for the math. If we're reducing 23 meters to 15, it should be 8 meters, not 7.
In mine, it shows 7 meters.
Yeah, but I think it should be 8. If it's going from 15 to 23, that's 8 meters.
8 meters, all right. We'll need to make a note of that and amend it. That the reduction will be increased by 8 meters. Or reduce the 8 meters.
Thanks, Kathy.
All right, we need a seconder.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Questions on the motion? Nays? Trevor, as your motion has been approved, your application for the variance, and you will be able to contact David in a day or so, and you and him can work out all your details.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Everyone have a good evening.
Thank you. All right. Item number 10 is an application for tentative subdivision plan 11. No, that's not it. Number 10 is application for variance conditional use for home occupation 50 to 54 Mallard Drive, Jeremy Klein. And 10.1 development officers report of April 1st, 2021. And the type of application is required an accessory building is number 1, and number 2 is proposed container for home occupation. Is there anybody out there that would like to speak in favor of this motion or this application? Is there anybody out there that would like to speak in favor of this application? And again, is there anybody out there that would like to speak in favor of this application? If not, is there anybody out there that would like to speak against the application? Is there anybody that would like to speak against the application? And again, is there anybody that would like to speak against the application? If not, could I get a motion, please?
I move that the Planning Advisory Committee grant approval of the following conditional use for a home occupation under section 5.4 of the zoning bylaw number 122B, being considered as a similar and compatible use within a one-unit residential zone for the operation of Outdoors NB to be located at 5054 Mallard Drive, PID number 460675 / 460667.
Thank you, Bev. Can we have a seconder, please?
I will second.
Thanks, Heather.
And on the question, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make everyone aware that Mr. Klein is setting up business down by the River Center this summer, and we've just approved his contract last council meeting to be there. So if you've never kayaked, you do kayak, and you want to get out on the river, it's going to be there for you.
Great.
Is it by Brundage Point or is it on the Old Wharf side?
The Old Wharf side, he'll be setting up, I think he's putting a shipping container in to store his items.
Yeah.
And I believe it's on the Old Wharf side.
Right.
I think it's a great idea.
Having
Yeah.
paddled out of there for 20 years, I say it's about time.
Yes, I agree with you, Alex.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the motion? If not, everybody can signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary? Okay, I don't believe Jeremy is out there, and we will be able to get hold of David in the near future. All right, number 11 is an application for a tentative subdivision plan, 72 Shannon Road, by Mr. Bruce Ward. Type of the variance that Mr. Ward is looking for is lot frontage 8.2.3 bracket BI. Required minimum is 23 meters, and he is asking for a variance of on lot 7.4 to 15.98. Lot B, 17.5, down to 16 meters. Lot C, 17.6, 15.20 meters, and lot 17.7 is 15.25 meters. Now we have 15 letters pertaining to Mr. Ward's variance. So what we will do is let Mr. Ward speak first, and then we will hopefully hear everybody else that wants to speak, and hopefully we can answer everybody's questions. Bryce, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I know you sent us a lengthy package at the end of the day,
Yes.
so we'll just let you say your piece, and if we have questions, hopefully we can get them answered.
Sure. So I have a brief PowerPoint presentation that may help to clarify some of the concerns that the residents had. If I'm willing to share that, if you'll allow me.
Yes, go for it.
I'll try. I'm not, it's the first time I've used this, so bear with me. Can you see that?
No,
No.
No? Now?
I think, Jim, he has to receive the host
Yes, I do.
Yeah, in order to show us what's on his screen.
Yeah.
Is that something you can do, Jim?
We'll have to leave that up to Troy. They're,
Send them an email.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do, yeah. Okay. See here. Just bear with me. See it now?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, perfect. How about that? Is that okay? Is that clear to everyone?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So the first slide I have here is what I'm proposing. It's the 4 lots. Each lot, well, the first lot would be 2.96 acres. The second being 1.67, the third being 1.56, and the fourth being 1.93. So all those lots border up against Blueberry Hill Nature Preserve on the rear. And the frontage variance is what I'm requesting on Shannon Road. So when I purchased the lot back in 2017, it actually came with a subdivision plan from the late Dr. Feinberg. So at that time, this is the plan that kind of came with it. It was for 31 building lots, actually. I've since decided that, it's not really something I want to pursue, 31 lots, and thought that it would better serve everyone in the community if we just did 4 large lots. So I bought 2 PIDs originally with this sale. One was a smaller PID that was attached to it. A friend of mine actually bought a portion of that. This is the first house that went up. And then he later bought a second parcel from me, and this is the second house that has gone up on Shannon Road. So what I've done is I took all the letters and I went through them and I read them very carefully, and I highlighted all the common threads and concerns that the residents have. And one of the concerns was the deforestation of the property that I've already done there. And the reason why I did that was because basically I needed to see what I had. I planned at some point to either put a road in and put some lots off of it, or just to determine where I was going to put the road, I need to shoot some elevations. So I did take down a fair amount of small trees. I left all the big ones. I took down alder bushes and anything that was dead. So I think that's where some of the concern is. I don't have a recent picture. This is the best I can do from Google Earth. But as you can see, a lot of the residents have done the same thing with their properties, and I don't blame them. I would do the same. But I guess my concern is that, why am I not allowed to do what they've done with theirs already? So that was one of the issues I had, or what the residents had, sorry. The other, of course, is water. So it's on a hill. As everyone knows, water runs downhill. So what I did was I actually went up on Monday and took some pictures. This is the forecast from Monday. So it's pretty representative of what we would see with the rainfall. It was 20 millimeters that afternoon. I took it, they were around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So this is what we saw. So this is water runoff at the bottom of 86 Shannon Road. It actually runs from my property through number 86 and comes out to this high side of the ditch on Shannon Road. As you can see, it's very clear, clean water. There's no mud or sediment in it, and really very little water flow. This is in the middle of the rainstorm as well. It's another picture facing east, it would be. So water comes down directly off of number 86, enters into this ditch, and then water also upland from further down Shannon Road comes down and meets that green culvert you see where it passes under the road. Now there is another culvert up from that. I believe it passes down through Mr. Rathburn's yard and Mr. Colin Perry's. But this is essentially where the water, and I believe the bulk of the concerns are from. However, what you see there is also the runoff again from further up the road and from down the road from the east and westerly direction. What you see to your immediate right is actually the water flow off of my property. Again, in front of number 86 and the upland water flow. So with that said, I understand number 86, which would be, I believe, 17. What's shown here is 7.3, be in the middle. I'm not sure if I can put a cursor on that or what I can do here, but what I've drawn is a blue line, these light blue lines. So the residents at both these properties, be number 86 and 96, I believe have some water concerns. So what I'd be willing to do if they wanted would be to create a small swale behind their residence between the hill and their properties and redirect it down the side to the ditch. Now 96 already has a ditch going down the side of its property. So what I could do, it also has one across the back. There's a 3-foot swale across the back. So what I would be willing to do on my own property would be to put another swale in behind hers. If that's something she wanted me to do. This is a photo of the 3-foot swale. It's kind of hard to tell from the picture here, but essentially there's a 3-foot swale ditch between my property and her backyard. These pictures were taken also on, would have been April Fool's, April 1st. It was about 36 hours after we had that big rainstorm. So this would be the area where we could also do another swale behind number 86, if they so wished, just to help direct the water down the side of the property. The other residents, so this would be on the far east side of the property. When you first come into Shannon Road, number 46. As you can see, these swales are pre-existing. They're very dry. So there's very little water flow through here. This is the spring of the year. And again, 36 hours after the rainfall. This is the swale between Blueberry Hill and my property, parallel to the boundary line. Again, you can see for this time of year, it's very dry. This is directly behind number 52 and number 54. Again, the same date. All these pictures were taken at the same time. Some residents have voiced their concerns that this is a wetland. This is taken off of the Government of New Brunswick wetland map. As you can see, it's not a wetland. The closest wetland would be, I believe it's called Henderson Brook. Wells and water table were another concern the residents had. Given that these lots are going to be 2 to 3 acres in size, the residential dwelling density relative to the rest of Grand Bay, all those yellow lines that you see are the boundaries of each property. In comparison to what's on Shannon Road, it tells a clear picture that there's lots of acres there per well, if you will, in comparison to the rest of the town. This is from the town of Grand Bay's subdivision. Their plan or their reference, I guess. This lot is qualified as R3. So It's the minimum requirement for an R3 lot is 900 meters squared. These lots range from 6,297 meters to 11,978 meters. So as you can see, there's significant amount of surface area there for water retention and to service wells and that sort of thing. Another one of the concerns was, of course, the wildlife. I'm an animal lover myself. Never hunted, never fished or anything like that. And anyway, when I was taking these pictures the other day of the water and such, there just happened to be a family of deer there were grazing. So I thought I'd take a picture. There's I don't think the lot itself is kind of a unique situation where it borders on the nature preserve. There's not many developments out there that can say that. So in terms of the animals losing their habitat and that, well, the lots are 2 acres to 3 acres in size to begin with, but they've got the nature preserve behind them as a natural habitat as well. So that's all I have. I did prepare a package for the PAC. It's more detailed. It outlines a few of the other concerns. I'd be happy to answer any questions if they have any. See if I can. Is everybody back to the regular screens, or do I still have it?
No, you still have it up.
Okay, sorry. Well, okay, everybody back?
For the committee members, do you have any questions for Bryce?
I have a lot of questions, but I'm still trying to filter all the information.
I have a lot of questions as well, but I'd like to hear, I think, from the other residents in the area first.
Okay. So I know there's a lot of neighbors that have a lot of questions, so let's open up for them. And
What?
I'm not sure who's totally out there. I know there's 16 participants to this meeting. So I'm just going to get down the list that we have, and I'm going to go with Pay, Beverly and Greg Carter. Are you out there? John and Barb, I know you're out there, so you have some questions?
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. We're across the road from where the subdivision is going to be. As I stated in my letter, when we moved here, the ditch that runs our sideline was only a foot wide and maybe a little over a foot deep. With the additional runoff off the hill through the years, water being directed down onto us, the ditch now runs between 4 and 6 feet wide. It's about 4 feet deep, and it's a full-time job for us to maintain that from falling in, because it came over, I bet you 20 feet onto our lawn and tore it up with one flooding, not this year, but in other times. And we had to repair all that. And it just keeps getting worse. It's deeper, wider. John has rocked it up trying to save our property. And with just listening to how the water is going to be directed from the places across the road now, I'm wondering where that water is going to be directed to. Is it going to be directed to that ditch that goes down our sideline that we are trying to maintain? So that's how my thoughts are.
Okay. So with that, Barb, I'm going to see if Ben, who's that, has some concerns.
No concerns at this time. I'm for the approval of this.
Okay. Kelly Wallace and Lloyd Kirby. Are you in the audience? Claudia Simmons, are you there? John and Linda Stevenson, Casey?
We're here.
Okay.
I'll start. I had several questions particular to some of the things that Bryce just said. Particularly, I wanted to make note that the ditch and swale he refers to behind the property 96, which I know will be spoken to later by the owner of that property, was actually caused to be built by the extra runoff that had been coming since that land was deforested. And I think that's a very significant, it wasn't a pre-existing swale, it was a new build because of that deforestation. Another question that Bryce did not clear up was the concern about the sewage system. As most of you know, the sewage system here was put in 2004. Before that, we had all been on septic systems, the septic fields. I'm not sure if when the sewage system was designed, it was designed to have the capacity to handle 4 more dwellings or 6 more dwellings, since he's already built 2. Another issue I had, particularly with the variances for the distance across the front of the yard, is that that would be an awful lot of driveways on the edge of a blind curve. And anybody who knows this corner realizes that there's a couple of speed limits along this street that are moderately well adhered to, but putting more open driveways on the other side of a blind corner sounds like an unsafe aspect of things. The other comment I had made in my letter was that the outflows that he refers to are actual natural streams. And while the land itself isn't a wetland behind those streams, it is certainly marshy at most times, and the pictures really do not depict that. I've had many walks in those woods prior to them being, to those trees being cut down. JP?
No, that's it.
Okay.
You're good?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you have any questions for Bryce himself, or that's it?
Question was,
There were questions for Bryce.
question about sewage.
I can take those if you wish. So the first one was the swale behind Miss Sewell's house. So the one I'm referring to is further back. It's in the woods. It's not one that she would, that you would see from her property. It's one that's been there for many, many years. In fact, it's in that picture, the trees have grown up through it. So maybe it just needs to be cleaned up. But it's on her property. In addition to that, I would be willing to do something on mine. The second one was, I believe, to do with the septic. Mr. Taylor has outlined in his report that the sewage plant has ample capacity for these additional 4 or 6 houses. In terms of the blind turn, I think you own the property at the corner there. It's been cleaned up, and there's a clear line of sight for those vehicles coming in and out of those driveways. And I'm sorry, what was the last question? You're muted.
The streams themselves.
I'm sorry? The streams. Yeah, I haven't seen any change with the trees that were taken down, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, the pictures that I showed you were during the rainfall, and that was the amount of water coming out. So it's a very small amount of water. I think that's only a 10-inch or 8-inch culvert that it was flowing to, and it certainly wasn't exceeding the capacity of that culvert under the road.
I can't speak to the pictures that you took that day, but certainly there has been lots of water in those ditches over the years that we have lived here, and that water has certainly been increased, as Tracy can speak to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I believe Bryce has answered questions. They might not be the answers you wanted, but he has answered them. And we'll move on to the next people that are concerned, and that's Catherine Hughes and William Cleveland. Are you up there? Okay. Kylie Lively, are you out there?
Hi, it's Kaylee. Can you hear me okay?
Kaylee?
Yep. Yeah, I purchased my property from my Aunt Simone 2 years ago in 2018. And my only concern is that there is a large creek that runs along the back of my property already, which will be part of one of your largest lots, your 2.96 acre lot will be directly in my backyard. It is certainly not a small amount of water that comes through that creek, especially on Monday. I could open my windows and hear it rushing quite loud. So I just want to express that I don't know whose responsibility it's going to be, but I've been in a subdivision already, my last one, where there's a creek in our backyard, then it overflows and backs up at another location. Maybe it's down by 86 or, maybe it's somewhere else. But the proper drainage from what's there right now is not sufficient, in my opinion, to take on, more water. And I just don't want my property to flood or become, boggy, because it's really nice right now. I'm excited and, I look forward to Grand Bay growing and everything, but I would like more information prior to supporting your developments back there. I also would want more information on any further development between my property and Claudia's property next to me, which is Claudia Simmons, if there would be any, telephone poles going in, any type of, Bella line or cable structures, these types of things, removing more trees. I wasn't given any information about this, so I was really surprised that I was not given any information about this being right in my backyard. So just concerned about the fact that I do have a very big creek on my property already, which has gotten larger in the last 2 years. So that's my biggest concern, is that you're putting these swells in, great, but they all drain somewheres. And if that somewhere doesn't have proper support, they will back up. I've seen it happen in our last subdivision in Glenwood Estates. It was a nightmare.
Okay. Bryce, do you want to respond to Ms. Lively's?
Sure. So you're at the beginning of Shannon Road. I'm sorry, I don't know exactly where.
Yeah, I'm at 52 Shannon Road. Your 2.96 acre lot.
Right on.
In my backyard, essentially, right back to me.
Yeah.
And right part of that creek. There's a little creek that runs through. That it's gotten bigger over the last 2 years. There's a lot of water that runs through there.
Yes. So I don't anticipate any changes behind your house. I don't expect any trees to be removed or anything like that. Basically, if this goes through, there's somebody that wants to build on that lot, and where he would place the home would be behind Ian and Virginia's, if you're familiar with who they are. So that would be quite a ways up from you. So I wouldn't expect it would impact you too much, because there really be no change of water flow back where you're at. And in terms of the swales, that's not something I have to do. It's just, if the residents were concerned, it's something I could do. It's not really something I need to do. We can leave the land as it is and just let the water go where it has for the last 30, 40 years. It's just something I'm throwing out there that just trying to accommodate the residents. And if they want to have a conversation about it, I can do that. It's not something we necessarily have to do. And it certainly wouldn't direct any water down your way. The two swales are more behind 86 and 96. And in the package that David has, it shows the elevations of the land, and the natural slopes are towards that end. So I don't anticipate it would affect you at all, really.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to Nicole and Chris McCracken. Are you out there?
Yes, Chairman, we're here.
Okay.
I guess I don't really have too much for questions, but more of a comment. Since all these trees were clear cut, my backyard has pretty much become a wetland swamp. The grass has been changing to moss continually from all the water runoff. Now we're starting to get about 5 ditches forming in the back of the lawn. And in my opinion, he's already shown a complete disregard and negligence to the destruction of other people's property with allowing this water runoff to continue.
Okay. Bryce, you pretty well addressed most of the water issues, but if you want to respond.
I really don't have much to say other than I don't feel that it's really impacted that property that much. But again, if you'd like to have a conversation, we could do a swale behind that property and help carry the water away.
What about the water that's already been making my yard a mess?
Again, we could put a swale there to drain it away.
There's already damage done though now, so we're kind of in a mess here. We're gonna have to do something to our yard. We're gonna have to re-landscape our entire property, basically. The entire property is turning to moss. And we spend a lot of time in our backyard. It's basically just caused a nuisance for us because we can't go out there all summer with our kids without just completely soaking us. It's September before it's even dry.
And this never happened before the trees were clear cut.
Well, I don't know what to say other than, you're at the bottom of a hill. I'm sure water's been flowing towards your property for quite some time. Again, we could do a swale and redirect it away, but I expect some of those issues have been there for a while.
Been here for 3 years. It's not the case.
All right, thank you. We're going to move on. And Tracy Sewell, are you up there?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So it sounds to me like Bryce is already well aware that the land back that he's purchased is worthy of swells. So how come, Bryce, you didn't do this before you decided to decimate our properties if you're well aware that swells could be done? So you're taking ownership and knowing that that land is beyond wet after being derooted and detreed. It wasn't like that. I've been here since 2005. I bought a nice property and I've tried to be kind to you guys and pleasant, but I'm going to have, this is my one investment that I have. The one investment that I go to work for every single day. And you have turned it into an incredible mess. Incredibly expensive at my expense and my neighbor's expense. And I am, if you've already taken acknowledgement that you need to create swells in the back to redirect water, then you're well aware of what you've been doing to us. And those little PowerPoint presentations that you've shown are not what we deal with on a daily basis or a monthly basis or a yearly basis, but what you have done in the last 2 years have created astronomical. It's just beyond words what you've created. And I don't know if that's a neighborly thing. And I don't think I've been more passionate about something. This is a community that I've become involved in with these landowners on this street. We don't have to be on each other's doorsteps every day to care for one another. But what you've done is total disregard at our expense. And you've already made yourself well aware that, and you've announced it to all these people, that you know that swells had to be created, and you should have done it 2 years ago when you started taking those trees down. Blueberry Hill runs onto our properties. And what happens when one tree is derooted? The amount of water that's held in one tree that leaks onto our property after you let it go is irresponsible and unforgivable. I don't feel this way about anybody, but I am very upset about this.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. We're going to move on to Trudy and Malcolm Marwick. Are you out there?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yeah, we're here. Hi, Chairman. Thank you. So we moved into Shannon Road in 2018, April 2018. And 3 days after we moved in, we experienced the highest flood Grand Bay has had, for the highest it's ever had. But we weren't flooded, so we were lucky. Since then, since the effects of the deforestation that we've seen we've had increased water coming down our drive. We've had increased moss in our back lawn. I'm not sure about the pictures that Bryce took on that ditch with the water coming off the hill, but I know that Tracy has a video. I've seen the video. I walked the road that day that Tracy took her video. The water coming off that hill was brown. Both those culverts were full to the level of the road. So that water has to go somewhere. There isn't sufficient drainage from that ditch going down to the river. So our concerns are the same as everybody else, water runoff. The well water, this is the first time that we've ever had a well. It's not something we've experienced before in the UK. So yeah, we have concerns about that. The sewage line, I'm sure the sewage facility can cope with the extra houses. I'm wondering about the pipe break that actually feeds into that system along the road. Is that sufficient capacity to add more houses to it? Lastly, on Saturday, I actually saw a small child on a bike going round that blind corner, and a car coming the other way, having to stop and avoid the child. That's something I saw 11 o'clock Saturday morning myself, and there was increased traffic on the road due to the unfortunate circumstances surrounding the missing lady.
Yeah. I should say too that all year round we experience more water on the road. I run every day with my dog, and this winter the black ice that's formed across the road from the runoff is significant and dangerous. I wear grips every day, but through the winter I've been sliding across the road just opposite, coming down from 86 and 96. It's like a skating rink. The water comes running off. It breaches the ditch and it runs right across the road, and it's just sheet black ice. That's in the winter months. And I can tell you that there have been days when I've come home from work and I have had to shovel the ditch in front of my own garage to stop the runoff down our driveway, reaching our garage and running in. And that's since the trees have been cut in the land opposite us. So we appreciate, the opportunity for you guys considering these concerns, because, yeah, they are day in, day out concerns where we're dealing with water issues, throughout the whole year. It's not just one day on April the 1st when the sky was blue in those pictures, Bryce. You had some good conditions for those pictures. We've been out there and we've been, I've sunk in mud with my dog, and the amount of water that's running off is just really unacceptable now. We've kind of been good neighbors, but, we're just glad that you guys are listening to this now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I guess we can move on to Crystal Matheson.
Hello. My concerns with this development are largely environmental. As I outlined in my letter, I think there may be some misunderstanding of environmental conditions and regulations here. The property has several unmapped watercourses on it, as some people have already mentioned, and there appears to be a fair amount of wetland habitat as well. And Bryce outlined the province's wetland map, but wetlands do not need to be included on that map to be protected under the provincial regulations. we can't just go in and start altering watercourses and wetlands without permits. And I am concerned that there's been no consultation with the Department of Environment and local government on these matters. I have other concerns about the timing of clearing. The clearing that's already occurred has been happening during the breeding bird season, which goes against the Migratory Bird Convention Act, which is an international act that protects migratory birds, of which there are many different bird species in this neighborhood. I'm sure a lot of the neighbors can attest to the wildlife. And not all wildlife is protected around here, but the birds and their habitats are. And clearing is something that would lead to the destruction of bird nests. Finally, I do have some concerns about the Nature Trust property and clearing adjacent to that. And I do appreciate that you're talking about 4 properties instead of 20. You know, that is an improvement over what could potentially be happening here. But, you know, the watercourse and wetland concerns are probably my primary ones here. And I don't think that they've been addressed appropriately.
Is that everything?
Pretty much, I think a lot of my neighbors have covered off the rest of the concerns fairly well.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to letter number 13, Claude Moore. Okay, Claude must be online. Letter number 14 is Ben Pujat. And letter 15 is Stu Osborne. Okay. Is there anybody else out there that wants to speak that we haven't covered?
I just have one question. It would be for Mr. Taylor. What's Mr. Taylor's recommendation on this subdivision plan?
On that note, Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion, please.
I'd just like to make a statement, Bev, if you give me a second, please.
Okay.
The purpose of this whole exercise and the application that Mr. Ward has presented to the town of Grand Bay Westfield is for a reduction of, just bear with me here, I've got so many papers in front of me right now, is a reduction for the frontage onto Shannon Road. I understand that the neighbors have a lot of concerns over water and runoff and everything else, but we need to deal with the issue that's at hand. And I'd just like to make that statement that it is for that purpose of him getting access to his property. And with that, I'll let you make the motion, Bev.
I'd like to table this to either April the 19th or our next scheduled meeting of May 5th, because there's been a lot of information presented to us this evening, and I'm not prepared to make a decision.
Does anybody want to second Bev's motion?
I'll second Bev's motion.
Questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Did I only hear one aye?
That's because they're all on silence.
I said aye.
I think I said I on mute, but I was an aye.
Okay.
Can I have the chance to ask a question of Mr. Ward before we table this?
Yes.
Certainly.
Bryce, have you considered carrying out a drainage plan?
I did that in part with what I showed you there today. Mr. Taylor's included a part of that in his package for you as far as elevations and that sort of thing, the natural drainage plan. So at the end of the day, we're really talking about 4 houses. We're not talking about putting in a road and changing elevations and that sort of thing. So the existing land will stay as it is, if you will, with the exception of the houses being built on it. So in terms of drainage, basically the way the land is now is I anticipate how it will drain. If there are some concerns, I am willing to work with whomever has the concerns to alleviate those drainage issues.
Is it possible, Mr. Chair, for us to have a site visit? I mean, I took a drive down Shannon Road this weekend. We got the package Thursday. I took a drive. But I mean, I wasn't going to walk across people's yards and trespass on their properties to see it. But I very much want to see what's happening. I do see there's a significant rain event coming in the middle of next week, 50 millimeters, I think, in midweek. And I'd like to come see what happens then, if possible.
Okay.
You and me
With
both.
With that, Kathy, would you like Mr. Ward to be there to walk you through it?
Sure, and and I'd like to see what happens in the the neighbors. Anybody that's here that, and I don't know how we'd schedule it. I mean, maybe that would be difficult, but I would, I'd like if Mr. Ward was there and we could walk through and see where. I don't really understand where these swells or swales would be built or how that would factor into the drainage system that exists now. It's hard to imagine with a topography map. I can't put it all together to make an informed decision. So I'd like to have a look.
Sure, I'd be willing to meet at your convenience.
My concern with that, Kathy, is Mr. Ward's well within his right to entirely clear cut the entire property if he so wishes, without any approval. However, with an engineered drainage plan, it may solve a lot of people's concerns. It may not be required, but if looked at by the right people and a proper drainage plan could be addressed and. Houses were built with drainage plan and vegetation reestablished. Most people, they'll put it in a lawn, they'll put in trees and stuff. Some of the drainage problems may actually become better over time. But I just wanted to make that comment, I guess.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a comment that I would welcome the PAC members as well. I know I've had one PAC member take the time, and thank you very much to walk on the McCracken's property as well as my own 2 days after the significant rainfall on Thursday, and they were utterly surprised with the amount of boggage and whatnot. So I do welcome any other PAC members. It's one thing to drive down a road and take a look at it. Beautiful power presentation on a nice day on Shannon Road, but it's another thing when you have 10 significant rainfalls, back to back or in a month, in a spring or summer, and definitely the winter when the ground is frozen and it's all running and barreling towards all our properties. So yes, I welcome it. So anybody that wants to get in touch with us and make some time to spend some time with us, we do welcome it. But as I said before, if people knew that swells could have been created to divert the water to begin with, and why didn't they take the diligence in doing so before doing it at our expense and significant expense?
So Mr. Chair, we have tabled this.
Yes, we have. So what I'd like to do, we did this last year with Mr. Crothers on the Ingleside Drive due to the floodplain and everything. So let's see if we can get, maybe I can get with David and Mr. Ward and get a time set up for next week. And we'll have one evening where we can meet and walk through the property, and he can, be a hands-on for everybody, and then we can go from there. He can answer any questions, and we can ask any questions that need to be taken. And anybody that's out there that lives in Shannon Road, if you have concerns, you have our email address, I believe. Let us know, send us some information that you want us to ask Mr. Ward, and we'll move forward with that, and we will table this motion for the time being.
I also, Mr. Chair, have a video footage from the rainstorm that we had just Thursday, April 1st, from the significant rainfall. And it's about over a half hour worth of footage following significant areas.
Do you want to forward that to us, please?
Yes, I will.
And since the article has been tabled, we don't have any ability to have any further discussion
No.
on this motion at all.
So with that, I want to thank everybody for their input. Bryce will be in contact with you to set up a time for the viewing. And with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconder?
I'll second that.
Thanks, everybody. David, I'll